My girlfriend was sexually assaulted and left me for the person who assaulted her. This happened over a year ago, but it still messes with me a little bit. I just want to get it off my chest and try to move forward. She started as my high school friend who I grew closer to after we graduated and we started dating. She was very sweet, and although she struggled a little mentally and sometimes needed emotional support from me, which I was happy to give, I think she managed herself well and was a very dynamic, good-natured person. Then it happened. I won't share them here, but I know the details of the assault and I was appalled when she told me about it. She didn't want to press charges and I promised her I would always take care of and be there for her when she needed me. But after that day something changed in her. It was subtle at first. She became very easily irritated and would frequently distance herself from other people, especially me, shutting down all communication between us. I never knew when or why, but if I tried to talk to her she'd get mad at me, so instead I just gave her space and tried to support her from afar. After a while it escalated. She'd say mean, hurtful, vicious things to me. She'd make fun of me about things I had confided in her I was insecure or awkward about. She'd manipulate me and threaten to break up with me if I didn't do things she wanted. When I started trying to put up boundaries, she'd go out of her way to tear them down. When she got extremely angry she'd punch things and often hurt herself in the process, which would just make her more upset and erratic. Some days she would be nice. She'd tell me she wanted to get married and ask me what our kids would be named. Then the next she'd go out of her way to avoid me at all costs, and if I tried to talk to her she'd lash out at me. She went from sweet to sad to angry to terrifying. I felt like I was walking on my tiptoes all the time around her, not sure which version of my girlfriend I was going to get that day, and too afraid to find out. Then one day it was particularly bad. She shut everyone out, not just me but her friends too. No one had heard from her for days, so I finally went to try and talk to her. I knew she didn't like being asked if she was okay, so all I asked her was if she felt comfortable talking to me at that moment. The outburst of visceral anger that followed still haunts me even now. "It's your fault I'm doing this, you pushed me to do this." Needless to say, we broke up that night. I was in tears and a mess and believed that it was all because of me. Not even a week later, I learned from her that she had hooked up with a guy, her co-worker. The same guy who had sexually assaulted her no less than 2 months ago. I don't know what brought her to do that, and I never will. I will never fault her for what that guy did to her because it was not her fault at all. She was a victim who didn't ask for anything from him, and all I ever wanted for her was to recover and move forward. But as for what happened between us, I don't know what to think. It feels insensitive and awful to think of myself as a victim too. But after all of the things I was put through in that relationship, I feel like a shell of my former self. It was once so easy to express my feelings and emotions to people, and now I can't do it anymore because I'm scared of them being used against me again. Not just that, but the idea that she decided to date him instead is to me. He assaulted her. He made her cry multiple times, and break down multiple times, once even in public. I can't express how awful it feels to know that someone you loved so dearly decided a person who violated them like that was more important to them than you. Edit. Wow, this post got a lot more attention than I was expecting. Thank you for all your responses. I'm touched. Heart. It seems like you guys' consensus is that she cheated on me and lied. To that I say, I don't know. I don't have enough information to know for sure if that's the case. I know that after it happened the first thing she did was call me in tears. But I don't know if it was out of guilt or if it was because she genuinely needed support. And even with all the emotional abuse I was put through at her hands, I don't think it's fair for me to jump to a conclusion like that. At the end of the day, I don't have any proof of such a thing. Maybe she did lie, or maybe her mental state was corrupted by a traumatic experience that led her to hurt me. I don't know the truth, and I never will, and I'm okay with that. I'm just glad to be away from this now. I just want to be acknowledged for what I went through, and try to move forward. That's all. Folded hands.